Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I'm joined by Simon Weir for a wander round paradise. Simon, the big man, 38 years since he passed away. And he's the man who set the standard, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he built this modern club. Wouldn't have any of this without Jock Stein. Just an unbelievable, character in British football, world football. And even then when he went to Scotland, and the sort of sadness of his death was a pivotal moment as well, even in my life, I never got to meet him, but I remember writing to him, as I always bamboozled. I had a few pen pals, yeah. Let's not go to John Aldridge at that point, because then there's he's still having nightmares. But Jock Stein once sent me signed Paul McStay on the cover. Lots of signed programmes and a wee pennant that I've still got in my car, a wee SFA pennant. He made me a Scotland fan, a real Scotland fan. Now, a lot of Celtic fans don't really have that connection with the Scotland team, obviously, because of the history of it all. But for me, he was Mr. Celtic, built this club. He's our Willie Maley that way, and also I think got a real affinity with the fans for Scotland as well. But just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man.
A colossus in the history of Celtic.
John, you're immortal.
Yeah.
There's that Shankly line,
It says it all. And the thing with this as well, Simon, we had the Champions League group draw the other week there. And again, Jock Stein was a man who made us a European force.
Absolutely. Look what he was taking on. I mean, the sort of parallel now is like the Man City's type thing, where you are completely out with their league financially, player-wise. It's the Billy Connolly joke about these guys coming out of the tunnel and they were shiny, and the wee fat Scottish guys in hook jerseys making them look even fatter. Aye, but can they play?
Exactly.
That's very old. That's the difference, isn't it? And that's what we've got again. You've got that chance again to go toe-to-toe in Europe. We are never going to win the Champions League again. It's gone beyond that. But someone like Jock Stein showed that 11 guys born within 20 miles of Glasgow could do it with an esprit de corps and with a team. I mean, obviously they were very, very good players as well, but his tactics, the tactics the night before the game, the little things, the way he gripped the Milan manager and things as well, all of that played into it. So he was way, way ahead, sort of tactically, and I think also sort of philosophically about football as well, and gave them the belief. If players have the belief, then you get a Barcelona night again. That's the difference with it.
That's the magic of this place as well, Simon, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is also a pressure. This is also a pressure, it's a pressure. The difference now, I would say, with that is that opposition teams, the likes of Messi and these guys and Ronaldo, they come here and it's the King's Theatre. It's not a scary place to play. It's not a bear pit. It's just a great stage to perform on. The pressure actually comes on Celtic. Yeah. In these Celtic are when you're playing away, there's no real pressure on you. If you can get anything, you get a point off it, it's a massive victory. Here, I think there's more pressure. I think that has turned since Jock Stein's time.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, to make this a fortress rather than just an exhibition is what I think we're going to be aiming for.
Exactly.
Lazio, Atletico Madrid, Feyenoord, we've got history with these teams.
Real history with all of them, yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Are you feeling as though we might make progress this season?
I think it's a good group. I think it's a really good group, and I think a couple of away wins. As much as the parallel I think here is the Scotland team, and the way the Scotland team have played, they might not be full of, A-list celebrity players. They've not got the talent that they had previously. But what a team they play as, and the belief in that team, and what Clark has done there, I think is absolutely fascinating.
That's a great point.
That's what you should be looking for here. Any progress in the Champions League for me is a real step forward. I worry sometimes about the naivety sometimes in Europe. You're kind of concerned about maybe Rodgers, tactics and things as well previously. However, it's a great opportunity. This could have been such a much harder group. But I think, to be perfectly honest, you're looking for Europa League type things. I mean, Celtic really should be getting to the finals of these tournaments. I don't think a European trophy is not out with our ability. And I think as a reality, that's what we should be aiming for. A European trophy would put us right back up there as a proper heavyweight in Europe, which we're not. We're Europe light, I would say. It's a great, wonderful club. It's got a wonderful reputation. I think 67's a while ago now. So, to recalibrate yourself, you should be looking to get to a final. You know,
Any European final.
Absolutely.
We're talking about Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio. It brings up memories of old retro football.
Absolutely, yeah. Of which I'm into, yeah, exactly, as demonstrated by the New York Cosmos double denim effort I have in below. Cosmos especially is one of these clubs that I always loved. It was a great documentary, once in a lifetime. It's a book actually I finished recently as well, Story of the Cosmos. Things like Pele signing for them. So Pele wouldn't even talk to them. Eventually they get him, they put him in a helicopter, they fly him over the ground. The pitch looks wonderful and lush because they've spray painted it green in New Jersey. Plays his first game, comes off at half time, and he says, I've got mold all over my legs, I've got a disease. Paint. That's the sort of stuff. And then of course they got up at Studio 54 in New York, 1977.
Terrible.
Just rock and roll football. So that's what I've always loved, and it's always been football and fashion and terrace culture as well. It's always been a big thing for me as well, and it includes things like the music, and the clothes people wore, just the change in fashions, haircuts, everything over the years. And my wife had a sort of fashion background as well. So years ago, we opened the first wee fashion boutique, then we opened the second one, Zico Fashion Boutique, named of course after my favourite Brazilian footballer of all time, Zico. Because of that goal.
Yeah.
That goal against Alan Ruff, 1982 World Cup.
Yeah.
And Alan Ruff stood and it went woof in top corner. He didn't move a muscle.
No.
And the ball went in like a bullet. And apparently he had Zico's jersey and gave it to his daughter, and his daughter wore it as a nightie until it was in shreds. Yeah.
It reminds me of the Neely Mockin story where he used to cruise out the fence wearing old Celtic flags and all that. Simon, seriously.
Worth of these things now as well, the history in it, but to them it's work clothes.
Wearing a number 7 jersey to play sevens.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way it should be though.
Just jinkies away jerseys.
It's great, isn't it? It's great. But imagine what was that worth now, you know?
I know.
But I'll get your hands on it. So that was the thing. So I always loved it. I loved sort of retro football tops and things as well. So we opened Zico, did really well. Moved to a second shop. And the first one we had was in just off Byers Road, Ruthven Lane. We moved up to Queen Margaret Drive because we got offered a lovely, main door shop. Beautiful, it'd been a former butcher's, so it was freezing. Moved in there, chandeliers, it was lovely. Nobody came.
Really?
Nobody came. Nobody walked past the Botanic Gardens. It was this weird invisible line in the West End. So eventually we wrapped it. We got a new sort of rogue landlord as well. You can edit that bit later, but he obviously was a rogue. And we got bumped out of there. And then we kind of fell out of love with it for a while. Sort of retail changed. Primark and things opened. It was that long ago. So that took it all away. It was disposable fashion. People getting £2 t-shirts and things, terrible quality. But I was doing a show in Bad. I was rehearsing in Bad where you guys do loads and loads of excellent gigs. It was a great venue. It's on Marcus Street at the Barras. And noticed that the Barras had changed. And my wife and I were looking for something to do again. We thought, why don't we just sort of test this and see. We've still got really good contacts with stuff, still into the retro football stuff. I think retro football gear has never been more popular.
Definitely.
So we thought we'll open a wee shop as well. So it's just Saturday, Sundays, and it's gone really, really well.
There is a real buzz, to use a maestro quote, there's a real buzz about the Bad area, the whole Barrowlands.
There really is. The Barrowlands has really come up. I think COVID's kind of killed it, obviously, finally. I think it was the last 3 or 4 years it was going down. Just traders leaving and things as well. Just it was becoming a sort of pass-through place. It was quieter generally. Since COVID, there's kind of other people involved as well, and the guys that run the Barras have just made it really funky again. I mean, you can still get a left shoe and a rusty saw if you want it.
Viagra
down there. Tobacco Viagra. That's my day. There's to explain. There's somebody who sells Viagra and tobacco. I mean, I keep going, this is legal, you can get this. Anyway, there's still a call for it. But so it's got everything there that you need. Tobacco, Viagra, it's great. That's the morning cause, a town crier. But in between all that, you've got all these funky little businesses opening up. So it really suited us. And we've had loads of ex-players coming by as well.
Loads of images.
It's great, isn't it?
John Squire's son popped in.
Dylan, Dylan's lovely. Absolutely lovely. And we had this, it's like based on the Tunnocks, with caramel wafer, but it's Glasgow and it's tenement. It's our design. We did it years ago when we had the first shop. And we've brought it back. Paul Cassidy and I've kind of designed it. Looks really, really good. Dylan buys it, wears it on stage that night. It looks, and I got a message from him last night. As a wee exclusive, and it's his favourite T-shirt. It says "at the moment," which is that slightly temporary thing. But my favourite T-shirt at the moment, wearing it in my new music video. He's filming it. So isn't that great? Yeah. So there's a wee tiny link to the Stone Roses, and it just brings it all through. So if, it's just gone really, really well. It's been funky. And then Brian McClare appears and things as well. These are all my heroes. Me obviously played with them as well, and you go, there's something. They're right. There's a big buzz. There's something happening there as well. And I want to give everyone a sort of fashion. We've called it a fashion boutique. It's a stall at the Barras. But it is Zico Fashion Boutique. We've got the women's stuff's going really, really well. My wife chooses that really well. We've got loads of new suppliers. But even getting the football tops is difficult these days because the price used to be 55 quid for to buy. Yeah. Now they're 75.
Incredible, eh?
So what do I have to charge to get that? So you won't get that there. So you've had to change the business model. So it's more football and tennis culture, I would say. Adidas trainers and stuff. And we've got Adidas sort of smalls in there, smalls as we say in the trade, in the rag trade, but we've got like bags and things as well, just a little Adidas original stuff just to set it around. But Supernova terrace wear, we've got just casual subculture, guys who don't sell to shops, we're actually carrying their stuff. So it's great, it's gone really, really well. I'm delighted, but it's knackering. We just finished yesterday and you kind of topped out at the end of the weekend, but it's great. Nothing better for a terrible hangover when you're out on a Friday night and hitting the Barras on a Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
Tobacco, Viagra, everyone.
So the return of the prodigal son, Rodgers.
Yeah.
How do you think it's gone this season so far, Simon?
Too early to tell, really, I would say. Obviously a bit of a kind of dodgy start. It must be very difficult for the players. We obviously don't know what goes on in there. We don't know what happens in the dressing room. None of us are privy to that. But it must be very difficult for the players to completely have to change the whole ethos of the club. Not just the style of playing, but the whole ethos of what Rodgers wants to do. You've got to remember also that Rodgers is still, the best available manager in Britain.
Definitely.
He's a brilliant manager. The problem is, he's an ex-girlfriend. He's reheated cabbage, and you never go back.
Reheated cabbage.
And a lot of it for Celtic fans they just never forgive as well. All football fans are the same. And given the choice, they would rather have some new superstar with some sort of Celtic connection. That's very, very tough to get. Who is on your shortlist? Who do you get? I was personally delighted when he came back, and I'm going to support him.
Yeah,
something because he's a Celtic manager, and that's it. And until you're proven wrong, it's not one of these we'll give him till Christmas and see how it goes. It's a different way of playing. It's a different whole atmosphere around the club, and you can't really judge anything so far because these are not really his players. None of these moves, none of these things that have happened, none even the loan players that he's brought in, all of this will have been targeted before. Ange Postecoglou leaving was heartbreaking for me, but I knew it at the cup final. You just knew the way he said goodbye to everyone. You knew the fact that he was really reticent in the interviews. He's going. He's definitely going.
And there's a wee Reed Alistair Johnson.
Yeah,
in the game.
Exactly. And
He's gone.
But you know that we're very lucky to have him. It was one of those guys that go into your life for a few years. Is it the Canio situation or a Cadetti? It was the same sort of thing. They come into your life for a few years, then they go and they break your heart. That's football. That is football.
Yep.
And for my generation, you're a lot younger than me, but in my generation, we're used to heartbreaking your best players moving on. Sometimes they come back and sign for Rangers and then do you again. It was, what I mean? So we've been through everything you can possibly have as a football fan. And I love what Ange has done at Spurs as well. They're now getting the Ange ball. Who is this guy, this unknown from this Diddy league up north? I don't know. There. That's the proof. So I think it's too early to tell so far. Give them the benefit of the doubt. You see it with people like Hitati, I think, as well. They're always just like, they're not quite knowing where they fit in.
That natural ability, the fluidity that we had under Ange, we've not got that much.
I think that's gone. I think that's gone forever.
In certain situations that they knew what they were doing before.
There is that. There was a lack of doubt. And now if you're thinking, what does the manager want me to do? Or where does this fit in? How does this fit into the shape? And does that move there leave a hole here? Is there? That's very, very difficult for players that have been so indoctrinated in this. Do you remember I watched a training thing with Ange and you could see him, because normally he's quite quiet and you see him, he does his bit in the dressing room and he walks away. The dressing rooms have always been traditionally, players run the dressing room. If you watch the Arsenal documentary, it's fascinating when Arteta comes in. The players run the dressing room and Arteta will kind of go bum 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 bum, really passionate little speeches, and I think it's fascinating to see. Then he goes, leaves. And then the players cheer themselves up, then they go out. That's what it's like in modern football. That's the way it is. Long gone are the days again, throwing football boots at people and all that. It's a different thing. They run the dressing room. So the pressure is then when you go out is where you fit in with that. And I saw with Ange that he was very, very good on the training pitch with the motivation of it as well. And it was all, what I noticed was the fact that the ball boys, everyone was involved. They all know the ball goes in, the ball goes in, the ball goes in. It's relentless football, it's non-stop. Now they've got pauses and breaks, and it becomes, I think Celtic are just stuttering a bit at the moment. There's just it's like you want to cough and it'll happen. I don't really see it levelling out till later in the season and probably into next season before he brings in the players he wants. He's not going to go anywhere.
No.
You know, he's left us once. You know, so it's not a divorce, it was a separation. And now he's back. And I think we just got to get behind him and get behind the team. That was the thing. It goes back to the old sack the board days, doesn't it? I love it. Sack the board, support the team.
Exactly, but I love how you refer to it almost as a relationship, because that's how it feels.
Oh, it is.
That's how it felt when it
does
came
it break
back.
your heart?
Yeah, there had to be a bit of forgiveness there to bring him back, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, your mother-in-law will never forgive her for breaking your heart in the first place, or him. And that's what we've got here as well. The mother-in-laws are sitting all around me, going, I just don't want him back, Rodgers. You shouldn't have gone. He's the teeth in this. It is what it is. Ultimately, it comes back to, see, 5 years ago, Brendan Rodgers is coming.
30,000 here at Celtic Park.
Exactly. So I'm back there again. But it is a wee bit of, this is ex-girlfriend's territory, you know. She's hurt us once, we should do it again the next time, you know.
So he's on a short leash. He's definitely on a short leash.
I think so, yeah, but it's unfair to say gone by Christmas. I mean, we're not in Rangers territory here.
Exactly.
You know, as you've seen, there's been a couple of casualties already and potentially more to come. So, I don't think that's here. I think the players just need to get it. I think it needs to be clearer. We're not on the training pitch. We're not at Lennox Town. We don't know. All of this is conjecture. However, you need to give him time. This is, again, I think on the last one, I think Jerry said it's not a restart, it's a rebuild. And I think that's what it is again. It's not what we expected. We expected to push the button again, we go again. And as he said before, the treble, having a treble on you, it can give you a sense of entitlement. You deserve to walk in and just win every trophy going. Doesn't happen. I think losing the League Cup is a great thing. We're out of it. Treble thing's gone. Concentrate in the league.
Concentrate.
Europe coming up.
The team fluid again for Europe.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. It's Europe for me. You know, this is the year.
Simon, you and I have lined up a few times in the green and white hoops for the.
I wonder what you're going to say. Yeah, when you said lined up, I thought, oh, not again. That one I had the number under my thing again.
Oh. Yeah.
We have, yeah.
Suspects.
The suspects, exactly. I'm Kaiser Soze. Yeah, we have. Over the years, I had a few chances to actually play for Celtic. It's one of these things, and then as a boy, I was completely ignored. Played schools football, and I remember the Celtic scout coming in. Everyone got a card except me. However, so that was a broken-hearted thing. I never get my trial at the Celtic Boys Club. Although I did write for one. So years and years later, in the 90s, I got a call. One of the MPs called me and asked me to come and play in a testimonial at Anfield for Celtic. Somebody had pulled out.
Incredible.
And I couldn't get away I was doing to the high road and I couldn't get away. It was heartbroken.
Coronation Street guys know that.
I think so, yeah.
I remember that.
So Jason McAteer took my place, I think, in the Celtic team. He played for Celtic that night. Probably a better replacement than I was. And then when John Barnes was here, we got Pally as well. You know, he was pals of mine. I went out for dinner and I got a part in Glasgow Kiss as Tommy Hannon re-signing for Celtic. Shot it here. How I sat in Mark Viduka, they called it the vanishing chair, and Mark Viduka had signed his contract and disappeared. Shot it all here, it was all brilliant, and John Barnes said, well, listen, why don't you come and train with us? So I got invited to train with Celtic on the Monday. The weekend's Inverness Caledonian Thistle.
Oh,
something on the Monday gone. My second chance, so my third chance to play for Celtic now at last is in these Old Firm Greats games, and we've played in quite a lot of them. They're set up charity games for food banks, and they've gone really well. We usually play in junior grounds, kind of all around Scotland, and I play terribly. And I've got the pressure of Rudy Vata beside me as well, you know. Why you play like little girl, you man. Thanks, Rudy, that's really supportive.
Rudy is unbelievable.
Because he's still fit. Yeah, he's so competitive. All of them are competitive. Every ex-pro we play with are really competitive, and it feels like a proper Old Firm game. Proper Old Firm, you know, in the days when there was the Old Firm, not the artist formerly known as the Old Firm. No, that's going to give me a few hates. So we've linked up quite a lot as well, and apparently we have hopefully another game coming.
We do. St. Roch's are celebrating their centenary now.
Brilliant.
It would have happened during the pandemic,
yeah.
So it's obviously much delayed, but it's a St. Roch's Select versus a Celtic Select. I've been tasked to pull the team together.
Excellent. So somebody's pulled out clearly, and I'm getting the call.
You've been asked to come in. I'm going to ask Big Rudy to keep us right. And as many Excelts as we possibly can.
Excellent.
For the celebration of the St. Rocks and today. We know the links.
Brilliant.
I mean, talking of statues, Jimmy McGrory obviously.
Yeah.
Signed him from the Rock.
Absolutely. I signed at Cathkin Park actually.
At Cathkin
Park. He was signed by,
Yeah, and it's James McGrory Park that will be playing the game.
Brilliant.
The 15th of October. And I think someone like Jimmy McGrory or John Thompson, who obviously passed away 92 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, they guys need statues up here, son.
Oh, definitely. Why there's not one to McGrory and Thompson? I still don't know. I know. Obviously, this is a huge thing to get a statue up, but those two are legendary. McGrory was the best footballer, best striker there's probably ever been in Scotland. The guy was a machine. And Johnny Thompson is just the most tragic,
his life,
beautiful, romantic story as well, but utterly tragic. And there's a wee thing, and I found out a few years ago when I was living in Victoria Road, that's where he left on the day. He was in a lodging house. There was two players in a lodging house that he lived in Victoria Road. It's 587, so I can't remember which number it is exactly. Red door opposite Sainsbury's for anyone that's there. That's where he left on the day of the game, and then was taken to Victoria. So his whole life, game, back to Victoria, that whole triangle was the end of his life. And I remember just putting a picture of him on the door one time as well, and I sort of celebrated it every year. That's a statue. Is there one in Carfin though? Is there one
in Cardenden? There are memorials, and there's a memorial in the library up there as well. And there's a John Thompson playing pitch for the kids.
So there's no statue.
There's no statue.
Oh, what a statue!
Something we need to look at.
He was a really good-looking guy as well. With a great look.
Great hair,
great. Wonderful hair. Almost as good as you.
Fife hair. He had
proper Fife hair.
He did, yeah.
Proper Fife hair. Proper. But also a wonderful goalkeeper as well, you know. And everyone's seen the tragic footage of it. And it destroyed English's career as well, you know, because he was forever known for that. But it's just to hit a knee, just and the way he rolls to the side, it's just tragic footage. To give you a life for Celtic to be the first statue.
We should see John Thompson and Jimmy McGrory.
McGrory was just a machine.
Now, before we got started today, again, I was met in the car park with someone who gave us a framed jersey. Thank you to Muldoon for that. It's for wee Jamie Tierney. We're raising cash for Jamie, and the link is underneath the video. So please, if you can, get involved in that fundraiser. And again, tomorrow, join us for a Celtic State of Mind at 12:30.